Well, hello, everybody. This is Kai Deering with On the Fly with Kai. Today is September 2nd, and we come to you every Thursday with tips, tricks, and hacks for entrepreneurs. And of course, today is no different. I'm excited to be able to introduce to you a gal that is kind of a new but a fast friend for me. We actually ended up working together in the company that I'm in right now. And there's so many things that I just loved about her. I loved her servant's heart. I love her leadership. She's really an expert in leadership with 25 years in a law firm managing them and tons of credentials from certified legal manager and leader within her Association of Legal Administrations. But she has a BS in business management, a master's of science in psychology. So certainly one of the sharpest women I've had a chance to meet. And today, over the last couple of years, she's been owning multiple streams of income. She's an entrepreneur extraordinaire and speaker. And she's really I'm excited to interview her. So please help me welcome to the virtual stage, Wendy Sweet. Yay, welcome, my dear. So glad you're here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, a real pleasure. I love your show.
Well, we have had a lot of fun together in a short period of time since we've been able to connect. And the first thing I always love to ask people is how they ended up, and when did they wake up from the matrix? Like, when did they say, enough, I'm not working for anybody? I love those journeys, that story to, from employee to entrepreneur. And you were 37 years in corporate. So tell us what that looked like.
Well, I loved most of my time in corporate. I really did. Working with law firms, becoming educated to do the job well, and working with professionals was just amazing. Exercising my management skills, all of that was very good. Until I realized that it wasn't exciting for me anymore. So I decided to, see if there was another opportunity out there. And one came to me, and I got out of the legal industry, went into another, private company in a different position. I was excited about, ready to learn, but it really wasn't anything that I expected. And it was just a really bad environment for me. And I tried to stick it out, but it just ate me up inside, and I walked away without another job to go to. And I was faced with an idea, or a crisis really, just to say, what am I going to do now? So I took advantage of an opportunity. We opened up an Amazon reseller business and went and got some education, hooked up with a company that could help us. And, our first year was the pandemic year in business. So, but we had time to learn the job well. And then I realized as I was doing interviews to go back into the legal industry that my heart wasn't in it. And I was probably the worst interviewee in the history of interviewees because my heart was not there. And I'd interviewed so many people in my life, and I thought, wow, I wouldn't hire me. And I realized, I don't want to go back. So I needed to make it work. And so I did the business, and then I tried a couple of different network marketing companies and, landed with Legal Shield. And I am just stoked about it. It's so well tied to what I know, and I feel really good about the message and the mission.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know that we talked about, a couple things. So one is sometimes those nasty, toxic work environments do us a favor because they turn us into, an alternative. So I actually should probably find that woman who fired me's phone number and thank her.
I thought about that. I thought about doing that.
What a creepy call that would be. Hey, thanks for being so horrible. You did me a favor. Just want to let you know. Thanks. It is funny though. But both of us have been lifelong learners. I've been very blessed. I've always, seriously, I'm going to date myself here. Like for 40 years, I've been doing personal development, going to Tony Robbins, Mark Victor Hansen, all that stuff. I know you're a lifelong learner too. How has that played into your success?
In a huge way. It took me 27 years to finish my bachelor's. I've mentioned that before. But I did it when it was applicable, and it was validating for me to be able to say, oh, I did this stuff intuitively, instinctively, and here it is. There's a name for it. There's other people are doing it because of this, it's written down in this book. So it was validating, but being a part of the Association of Legal Administrators is really, really what made a huge difference for me, because the focus was on education, becoming certified, A group of us did that together. And, that was very validating, very hard, but very validating. And now in my businesses, all of those skills, all of those workshops, all of those conferences, all of those speakers had, really impacted my life. And I've always wanted to emulate them so that, my lifelong goal will be to be on the stage speaking and helping people. I just want to tell my story, but I also want to help them, through their journey.
And I have no doubt that you will. What's interesting is, so I did another entrepreneurial venture before I landed here. And I think one of the things that you hit on was, I'm more of a team type person. Like I like to have, you talked about associations and, I want to be a part of a group. And so, that was hard for me when I was self-employed. And I imagine that's hard in the Amazon business because you're just kind of by yourself trying to figure it out. And that's sort of the hardest way. So talk to me about, I know you had mentors here, you've had mentors in your Amazon business. How important are mentors to, if you're making a transition, right? So you're going from employee to self-employed, and how would you go about finding one? So talk a little bit about that. Because I know you said you wish you'd had some different mentors, some better mentors so that you could have made some better decisions faster.
Yes. The Amazon business was great. I teamed up with a company that really accelerated our growth, and the coaches were amazing. So having mentors in that industry was super important because it was so foreign. We'd never done anything like it before. And when I was looking for something more, because you're right, you're staring into a computer, you're doing research, you're doing bookkeeping, it was not a sexy type of a thing. And I was not really, I'm excited about the business. I was not excited doing the pieces of the business. So my husband's really great at that. And so he's doing that full time now. And
so he's more of the introvert as well. So that fits his personality.
Yeah. And he loves research and, so he could be online for hours just researching things, and I need more stimulation. I needed more interaction. So in this business, trying to find something else, really, I was floundering a bit. I was looking at ads. I was going online for, different, the recruiting apps, talking to recruiters, but nothing really spoke to me. My sister has a really good friend who's in another network marketing company, and she's amazing and she's super successful. But for me, it just was not the right fit. I love the products. I still use the products, but it was not something that I could really promote. So I chanced upon somebody on a network marketing call or a networking call, and she reached out to me, and we were going to cross promote each other on social media. And so when I saw that, I realized, wow, this could be a good thing for me. But it really wasn't until you found me and noticed me and then took me under your wing that I started to really soar. And I think having you as a mentor, having a mentor back when I became a legal administrator, there was somebody like you who saw something in me and helped me grow, got me into the pulse of the business. That wasn't until that I really was able to feel like I could thrive in this business.
Oh, and I know we have a good friend, Atma, who says, Wendy's a sweetheart. Thanks, Atma. That was so nice. But I appreciate the kudos, but you have what it takes to be successful, whether it was, with our company or what have you, you just had to find the passion with it. And so there's a lot of different ways. For those of you who are watching that are looking at taking a leap, you can do a franchise type model, right? So one, you could start your own thing, which is what I did. And that was the worst because then I didn't know what I didn't know, from marketing to social media. I mean, it was a heavy, heavy, heavy lift by myself. You could go into traditional franchising, which is sort of like more of the Amazon business, but that has a lot of capital. What was the capital to get started there?
Well, yeah, we had, it was about $70,000 ultimately to get all the equipment, not equipment, but just computer and the printer and other things that we needed for the business that we didn't have. desk setup and all that, plus supplies. But we needed to buy product, so we had to get funding, and that's been, and it was scary at first. It was scary to even spend the money to buy product at first, but then we started buying pallets of things and realizing, hey, they're going to sell, and there's a formula, and Dan was really good at figuring out what was going to sell. So yeah, it takes a lot of money, and it's probably not going to be a profitable business for us for at least another year or two, because we're reinvesting everything in the business. So, but it's fun, and it's thrilling. We have these products that you just, people buy anything. It's quite amazing.
Well, and I like that you have what we call multiple streams of income. So you have your income coming from Amazon that your husband's working, you're working here, and I know that you've got a book that you're looking to write. And I think that people that see this need to know that, there are, well, let me back up. The average, millionaire, they find it on about the 6th to the 8th venture. So, sometimes it can take you to kissing a few toads before you find your spouse or before you find your right opportunity. So don't be afraid if it doesn't feel right. Like you said, your other company, you loved the products, but it just didn't feel right for you. Don't be afraid to make a move, because life's too short. Would you guys agree?
I agree.
Yeah, totally.
And there were great people, Kai, but and it was a team environment, but it just, it didn't feel like my village,
Yeah. So you just really need to find what makes your heart sing. So, there's ways you can make money. You can do a job, you can go out on your own, you can do a business like this, Amazon, where it's a little bit capital intensive because it has products. And like you heard, most businesses take 3 to 5 years before they're profitable, which is exactly what I hear you saying when you're doing that traditional route. Or you can use your sweat equity, which is what you've done and are doing here, where the company is like a small buy-in. So I really appreciate that. And then you hit on something else that I thought was interesting. So that was just my education moment for those of you who are looking to do a venture. She and I both, when I decided to go do my own thing, I went to trade shows. I did tons of homework. I really just took a year and investigated. So I think it's important that you mentioned that. But then we talked about, the courage that it took to be able to do what you did. So there's a lot of people that have a 37-year career that are sitting right where you are. They're not loving it. Life is passing them by. They're not hanging out with they miss their children growing up. Now they're missing their grandchildren growing up. And for whatever reason, they're just too scared to make a leap of faith. Most times, like in an Amazon business or like our business, you could do something on the side. What stops people from doing it? What stopped you from doing it sooner? And how did you do it? Because people are like flabbergasted. Like, how'd you do it? How'd you do it?
I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I could be disciplined enough or be in business on my own, or I had something that was interesting enough to coach people with. It was very scary. Yeah, just thinking about it. So I had a high-paying job, and it paid the bills. It made us comfortable. We were able to do a little bit of vacationing, but it was so restrictive. And I'd often thought, wow, what would another lifestyle be like? Could I even deal with it? But then I realized, the bills are always going to be there. People always say, oh, well, I've got to pay off this first before I do anything else. Oh, I've got to, I have school loans still. I've been paying them off since I finished my master's, but they'll always be there. And I wanted to have a different lifestyle. And once I realized that, listen, after I walked away, I tried gig work, and I felt so liberated. I just felt so great having time and being outside during the day and being able to dictate my own schedule. And that's really what got me thirsty. And then I realized, maybe I can do this. And then opportunities started to come to me. So I think I was putting it out there.
Manifesting it, yep.
Yeah, and then I just said, let's go. I have confidence in me, and I've built that over time with the education, the network that I've built, taken on leadership roles. So I figured I could do it. And coupled with the fact that now I wanted to do it, that I think was the magic.
Well, you hit on something really huge that I want our listeners to really understand is that, there's never a right time to start a family, get married, start your own business, for crying out loud. And if we wait, oh, I'll do it when, I'll do it as soon as, that time is just never going to come. And what that is cleverly disguised as is fear.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that is. And
It is.
so I understand you do, if you're going to do a traditional business, you have to basically burn the ships because you can't do something else if you're going to open an ice cream store or something, right? But then there are other ventures, Uber or, app-based driving or network marketing, where you can do it alongside. And like you said, get thirsty, kind of see what that future would look like for you without costing your family, potential, bankruptcy and things like that. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Now, you said your courage came from, your education. I know you're big into Toastmasters, and you and I both love, reading, and we're in a book club and all kinds of things together. But if, let's say I'm looking at this and I'm like, Wendy, good for you. Like, you are confident and beautiful and smart and all these other things, but I'm not. How can someone just start? Like, where do they start to build that confidence, that faith, that courage? Where does that start?
Well, I think hanging around successful people and, figuring out what's important to you and what's not helping you in your life and getting rid of those things. Investing in yourself, taking care of yourself, and, finding a mentor, somebody who can help coach you or mentor you into where you want to go. And even if you don't know where you want to go, or you're afraid of where that might be, it's okay to take a chance. I mean, gosh, if you make a mistake, that's okay too. I mean, if you find that you don't like it, you can always go back, right? But a business like, ours, it's such a low buy-in. You can do it from anywhere. You can do it from your phone. So even if you work full time, at a lunch break, before you go into work, after work, whatever, you can do this business. I mean, I'm fascinated by how great our apps are, our tools are. And then you've got all the support from the team. Invest in yourself by taking the time. Make the time. Try it. I never thought I'd like this so much.
Well, it's so funny because you have that invest in you, and that was my post yesterday on Facebook. Was like, what's the best investment? Your 401k, gold, silver, crypto. I'm like, it's you, yeah. Because what's really interesting is once you've got the skills. Let's say that this company that we work for went out of business, or Amazon, would never happen, went out of business. These skills are transferable. Like, you could just drop us into something else as long as we were passionate about it. Those skills will serve us. So don't be afraid to work on those skills, because they're going to translate well for your, current career. If you have a job, it'll translate well for your, next venture. So Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do on your business or on your job, and everything else will work out. I appreciate that. So I know that your superhero strength is communication, and that makes sense. You've been in Toastmasters, you've had lots of leadership roles, and Atma was had Best Book Club. Thanks, Atma. But Atma was asking, about what is your book? Well, I know that it's about, so it's perfect. So Atma says, "Hey, bring the book, Wendy."
Hey.
It's being written right now, and it's on communication. So talk to us about communication and how important that is in our relationships and our careers, because I think that is the key to being able to articulate. And my mentor, Craig Hepner, says, you want to over communicate so clearly that they totally understand everything you're saying, because there is a lot of challenges with communication. So if you could speak to that, I'd love it.
Yeah, well, my book is titled Intention versus Impact, Mastering the Art of Effective Communication. And I came up with that title because of all my years in management, plus all my years in life, and realizing that what our intentions are when we say something really don't always, they often miss the mark on the person that you're talking to, whether it be by text or email, in person, your body language, what have you, all that. It's a real challenge to talk to people. So I address that in my book. I talk about the different generations. I talk about work environments, home environments, family environments, and just try to give some relevant stories on things that happened in my career, managing people. The biggest one was email communication. People don't always realize how things are going to be received. So anyway, that book has been in my heart for a long time, and I think there's a book in a lot of people's hearts. And don't be afraid to write it. I found an amazing book coach. I have to give a plug to Patrick Snow. If you want his information, contact me. He is truly an artiste when it comes to coaching potential authors, and he has all the contacts for the editing and the printing and the promoting. So I'm excited, and it's for the first time I've actually got stuff on paper, and I love that.
Well, you're like every time I interview somebody, they're always saying, oh, what was a turning point for you in your, your business? Oh, well, I got a mentor. Oh, I hired a coach. Oh, and like, so for you, for the business we're in, it was finding each other, right? And then in your book, you've always had it was finding that coach. And I think that's a real reigning theme. So if you do not have a coach, hire it, find somebody, find a career where they can provide you one, because they think that if someone's done something you want to do and is willing to help you, then you don't have to go it alone. It just makes it so much faster, right?
And easier. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Putting the structure into a book and all the, things that complement the book other than what you're writing, where do you start? So he's very, very good about that. And that helped me put that down, which helped me start writing the chapters, and it just flowed from there. So I think that you're right. Find somebody, invest in yourself. Again, that's what I did.
I love it. And on that line of communication, I feel like, many of us have grown up in different households, right? And we carry that forward with us as the norm. And like in my household, we never talked about, finances. We never talked. It was just taboo, a lot of subjects. So, we just didn't talk sometimes about, or be vulnerable, or, really share. And so I love that you talked about that family. I love that you talked about the vulnerability. And I also love that you talked about email. So do you have any good tips and best practices for us communicating in this weird world where nobody wants to pick up the dang phone and talk to anybody? They just email me or text me, right? Do you have any great tips for that?
Well, I would always say, I sometimes when I get an email, I just dive right in and respond to the questions. And then I realize, wait a minute, I want to ask how they are. I want to thank them for what they're doing, or what they're, the information they're providing, or how they're helping me. I want to show that appreciation. So I always go back and I add that in if I haven't already done that. And, you have to build relationships. And so part of emailing is, knowing when to be concise and direct, but also knowing when it's important to show that you care. And being authentic is very important. But it's also a skill that some people just need to develop, because they may feel that, but they don't know how to translate it to words. So just be present when you're writing those emails. Be self-reflective when you're writing those emails. If you're mad, don't send it right away. Read it again after an hour or two and see if it's still, is the flame that you want to send out there for somebody to encounter. Recognize that your words are very strong and you can't take them back. Once they're out there, and you can apologize all you want, but it doesn't change that the damage was done. You can scab it over, you can band-aid it, but it will never change that you had that impact on somebody. So just, be present. I think that's the most important thing. Don't just be on autopilot. And don't oversend email. For me, we have so much email, text messages, WhatsApp, everything, Boxer. Oh my God.
Bombarding us, yeah.
So when you're on a group text, be careful about all the, oh, thank you, great idea. It's too much will turn somebody off and the message will be completely missed. So, and they may, back out of the group because of it. So just be aware,
Great tips. And it's funny because I came from a career where, my last one where I was the boss and I told you what to do. And so I really had to watch, somebody brought it to my attention. They said, this was 15, 20 years ago, like when you text people, you're just really direct, like, okay, thanks. period, whatever. So I had to learn to be a little bit like, hi, or put an emoji, because that just wasn't in my nature. It is now, it's a skill like anything else. So if you're coming from a cranky corporate America where you're the manager or the boss and you're used to telling people what to do, and now you want to be an entrepreneur, that is some great, great, great advice. I love that.
One other thing I want to tell you, it's not just about the words, it's about the facial expressions. And one thing I learned when I was doing some acting classes in my, after I left my corporate America, is watch how your face looks, because, I have a natural, my mouth turns down. So if I'm concentrating really hard, my eyes look like I'm glaring, my mouth is turning down like I'm frowning, and it looks like I'm disapproving. And I think that impacted a lot of the employees that I worked with. So having to try to, really change the muscles in my face to try to be a little different and be aware of how I'm coming across.
It's so true. I had a friend in high school who's always, their mouth went like this, and everyone was like, she looks snotty. I'm like, they're like, she's snotty. I'm like, no, she just looks that way. It's really funny. I'm like, wow. I know you talked a little bit about, I think that you have an incredible servant's heart, and you talked about being heart-centered. What does that mean to you, and how does that translate in business?
Being heart-centered is caring about the other person, caring about how you can make a difference in other people's lives, and not being in it for the money. So for in business, you can't just say, oh, I want to make that deal. You have to say, how can I make this deal and nurture it for the rest of my life? So having that, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know who they're going to be in your life. And just let that be an opportunity for building a relationship. Let every interaction, even if they say no or it's not for them right now, it doesn't mean that it won't be in the future. And if they remember that you have cared about them genuinely, they'll remember and come back to you. It's all about planting seeds. You work for your reputation. So if they know that you really care and that you want to help, and I've referred people to other people, or network, do something else if that seems better suited to who they are. So I've mentored people to leave my place of business because they were just too much of a superstar and they needed to grow and they couldn't do it there. So, I've helped people get there. So, and they come back, they're still in my life, they appreciate that. And I'm excited for them. So you just, don't always think about the bottom line, I guess.
And that's so true. Like, especially, I just think about times where I've really been tight on finances in my business, and you can smell my commission breath, right? Luckily I'm on the other side of that. So I work because I want to, not because I have to. But I do remember it's a different feeling when you wake up and you're like, okay, who's going to buy for me today? Who's going to, you're like, I got to pay a bill. So I appreciate that. And as long as you can stay in that heart-centered zone, even if you need the commission, like your, service to many leads to greatness, I think that's really important. Well, any final thoughts before I let the folks know how to engage with you if they've got questions and want to know more about your book and all that good stuff?
Just to say that what you just mentioned about being heart-centered and not hungry, you're really good at that, Kai, because you say something that impacts me every time you say it. You say that I get to help somebody today. I get to make a difference in their life today. And that's what I think our business is about. And that's what I'm trying to communicate to people when I talk to them about it. Doesn't matter if it's for them or not, but it's important that they know that it exists, and just know that I'm there to help. And you're a good role model in that regard. So thank you for everything.
And you are destined for greatness, and I'm glad that you hitched your wagon with us, because wherever you would be incredible, because you're just a born, like you said, communicator, leader, and just a really overall amazingly good person. And so I'm just excited that we get to play together in business and in life. So
I love it.
I'm going to go ahead and put your email address into the chat, and I have msp4ws@gmail. Is that the right one?
That's right.
Okay. So if you want to ask Wendy, she's incredible with her time and very generous. I'm sure she would help you, ask questions about how to transition because she recently did it a couple of years ago, right before the Great Pause. I'm sure you could talk to her about communications, about Amazon, about our business. So please reach out to her. And I just want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Appreciate that.
You're amazing. Thank you, Kai.
So for everyone else, I just want to thank you for coming into our 36th episode. We come to you live every single week, Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific, all time zones in between, for On the Fly with Kai. It's tips, tricks, and hacks for the entrepreneur. And I just want to thank you for joining us for another incredible interview. We'll see you next week. Take care, take charge. Bye-bye, everybody.